Sobrang di ko pa mapaniwala. Maraming salamat sa suporta at sana patuloy yung suporta niyo sa Kamusta mga kapong Pinoy? Surprise! Excited na akong imbitahin kayong lahat na manood sa mga laban
They
ko.
turned on me. The heartbreak, betrayal, and brutal revenge that transformed Alex Eala into a tennis assassin. It was supposed to be her moment. It was supposed to be the week Alexandra Eala proved to the world that she had arrived on the biggest stage of professional tennis. But instead of glory and celebration, the ASB Classic in Auckland ended in a scene so heartbreaking, so utterly devastating, that it sent shockwaves through the entire tennis community and left fans around the globe absolutely stunned. We've witnessed crushing losses before in this sport. We've seen monumental upsets that nobody saw coming. But what happened to Alex Eala in New Zealand wasn't just another defeat recorded on the scoreboard or a disappointing exit from a tournament. This was something far more personal, far more damaging. This was a defeat of the spirit itself, a crushing blow to the very soul of a young athlete who had given everything she had for her country and her dreams. Imagine for just a moment what that must feel like. Picture yourself walking off the tennis court after battling your heart out, your entire body drenched in sweat, your muscles screaming from the grueling physical and mental warfare you've just endured for hours under the unforgiving sun. You're exhausted beyond measure, but you look up toward the stands where you expect to see familiar faces, supportive smiles, and the comforting sight of your national flag being waved with pride. Instead, you witness something that cuts deeper than any loss ever could. You see the very people you're fighting for, the fans who share your heritage and your colors, turning their backs on you. You hear them cheering loudly and enthusiastically, but not for you. They're cheering for your opponent, for the player on the other side of the net who's trying to end your tournament run. This isn't some wild internet rumor or exaggerated social media gossip. This is the raw, unfiltered, painful reality of what allegedly went down during that fateful week in New Zealand. And the words that eventually came tumbling out of Alex Eala's mouth in the aftermath of this crushing experience? They will absolutely haunt you and stay with you long after you finish reading this story. Through tears that she couldn't hold back, through a voice breaking with emotion and pain, she uttered words that revealed just how deep the wound went. They treated me like this just because my country is small. Let that sink in for a moment. Let the weight of that statement wash over you. Alexandra Eala, the 20-year-old tennis sensation from the Philippines who has carried the hopes and dreams of an entire nation on her young shoulders, couldn't stop the tears from flowing down her face. Her disappointment was overwhelming, crushing, suffocating after that bitter defeat at the ASB Classic. But it wasn't just the loss itself that broke her. It was the scene that unfolded in the stands, the alleged betrayal by Filipino fans who she believed were her own people, her support system, her home crowd, even on foreign soil. Reports and eyewitness accounts suggested that these fans, who should have been her loudest cheerleaders, were instead directing their applause and energy toward the opposing player. Walking off that court in Auckland, with her head down and her spirit shattered, Eala's eyes were filled with tears that spoke volumes about the pain she was experiencing. Her voice trembled uncontrollably as she admitted to feeling deeply betrayed, profoundly hurt, and completely blindsided by the coldness emanating from those who had once claimed to support her unconditionally. It was a devastating low point in what should have been an exciting tournament run. This was rock bottom, the kind of soul-crushing moment that has the power to break even the strongest young athletes who are still learning how to navigate the brutal mental and emotional demands of professional sports. The critics, always lurking in the shadows and waiting for any sign of weakness, were already whispering among themselves about whether Eala could recover from such a public and emotional breakdown. The trolls on social media, those faceless cowards hiding behind their keyboards and screens, were typing away furiously with their hateful comments and mean-spirited predictions. The question on everyone's mind was unavoidable and harsh. Was this it? Was the hype train that had been building around Alexandra Eala finally and completely derailed? Had we all been wrong about her potential to become something truly special in the world of tennis? But if you think for even 1 second that Alex Eala stayed down on that canvas, If you believe that she allowed herself to be defined by that one painful moment in Auckland, then you clearly don't know Alex Eala at all. From the devastating tears shed in New Zealand to the raging competitive fires now burning in Melbourne, this young warrior has written a comeback story for the ages. Welcome back to Champions Tennisitics, the only YouTube channel dedicated to bringing you the rawest, realest, and most explosive tennis news and analysis on the entire planet. Today we are diving deep into what might genuinely be the comeback story of this entire tennis season so far. We are talking about revenge served cold on a tennis court. We are talking about redemption earned through sweat and determination. We are talking about how Alex Eala took all that heartbreak and pain, bottled it up inside, and then unleashed absolute hell on her opponents at the ASB Classic with a level of focused aggression and clinical precision that left observers stunned and her critics scrambling for new narratives. She didn't just win her matches in Melbourne. She didn't just show up and go through the motions of playing competitive tennis. No, she sent an unmistakable message to every single person who had turned their back on her, to every doubter who thought she would crumble under the pressure, to every critic who whispered that maybe she didn't have what it takes mentally to compete at the highest levels of this sport. The message was clear, powerful, and impossible to ignore. Alex Eala is not going anywhere, and she's coming back stronger, fiercer, and more determined than ever before. Let's set the proper stage and context for this remarkable turnaround because the details matter tremendously here. After that devastating and emotionally draining exit from the ASB Classic, the narrative surrounding Alexandra Eala was messy, complicated, and filled with question marks about her future. The pressure bearing down on this 20-year-old Filipina sensation was heavier and more intense than it has ever been at any previous point in her young career. She's carrying the hopes, dreams, and expectations of an entire nation on her shoulders. The Philippines might be considered a so-called small country in the often Eurocentric and traditionally dominated tennis world, but it is absolutely a giant when you measure it in terms of heart, passion, and unwavering support for their athletes who make it to the international stage. She navigated the tactical exchanges with a maturity and understanding that seemed way beyond her mere 20 years on this planet. Her shot selection was impeccable. Her movement around the court was efficient and purposeful. Her mental composure never wavered, even in the pressure moments. And here's the detail that really drives home just how dominant this performance was. She didn't drop a single set. Not even one. In Auckland, she had to struggle through 3 grueling sets, barely surviving the encounter. In Melbourne, she cruised through in straight sets, making it look almost easy against the same opponent who had pushed her to the absolute limit just days earlier. This victory marks the second time in less than 10 days that the Filipina sensation has defeated the world number 70. 2 victories, back-to-back, against the same quality opponent in a very short time span. Let me be absolutely clear about something, because this point is crucial to understanding what we're witnessing. That is not a fluke or lucky break, ladies and gentlemen. That is not catching someone on an off day. That is genuine dominance over a specific matchup. That is completely owning an opponent mentally and physically to the point where she probably dreads seeing Eala's name appear in her section of a draw. And you really have to wonder what must have been going through Donna Vekic's head during and after this rematch. Just imagine the mental torture of losing to a 20-year-old opponent in a competitive match, then having a few days to think about it and convince yourself that the next time will be different. You tell yourself it's just an exhibition tournament, so there's less pressure and you can play more freely. You think to yourself that you'll get her back, that you'll figure out the puzzle of her game and turn the tables, only to step back on the court and get beaten even more convincingly the second time around. The psychological impact of that kind of result cannot be overstated. Eala is absolutely living rent-free inside Vekic's head right now, occupying mental space that the Croatian can't seem to clear no matter how hard she tries. Now let's shift our focus to examine the technical and tactical aspects of this performance for a moment, because the details reveal just how impressive this victory truly was. The ASB Classic isn't just some casual hit around in the park where players show up to get a light workout. This is serious business. The tournament is held annually at the historic Kuyong Lawn Tennis Club, a venue absolutely dripping with tennis history and tradition. This is an invitation-only warm-up event, which means you don't just show up hoping to play. You have to be specifically invited, and those invitations only go out to players who have proven themselves worthy of competing at this level. You don't get invited to Kooyong unless you are genuinely somebody in the world of professional tennis. Tournament officials have noted publicly that this exhibition provides participating athletes with what they describe as a high-intensity environment specifically designed to help them fine-tune their rhythm and timing against top-tier opposition before heading into the pressure cooker atmosphere of a Grand Slam tournament. And boy, is Alexandra Eala's rhythm finely tuned right now. It's tuned to absolute perfection. Every aspect of her game seems to be clicking simultaneously. She's moving better around the court than she was even a few weeks ago, covering ground more efficiently and getting herself into better positions to hit quality shots. Her court coverage has noticeably improved, allowing her to defend better while also being able to transition quickly into offensive positions. But perhaps the biggest and most significant difference in Eala's game right now? Her mental approach and psychological resilience. Think back to the introduction of this story. Think back to those heartbreaking tears flowing down her face. Think back to those devastating words. They treated me like this just because my country is small. When you hear a young athlete utter words like that, expressing such deep hurt and feelings of isolation, you naturally worry about their confidence levels going forward. You worry that they might feel alone and unsupported. You wonder if they can possibly recover from such a crushing emotional blow that strikes at the very core of their identity and purpose. But then look at what actually happened when she took the court in Melbourne. The crowd atmosphere there was completely different from what she experienced in Auckland. They weren't turning their backs on her or directing their support elsewhere. The reports coming in from multiple sources indicate that the support she received at Kooyong was absolutely electric, with fans genuinely appreciating the quality of tennis she was producing and responding with enthusiastic encouragement. Diane Castillo, the legendary and highly respected Philippine sports reporter who has covered Eala's career extensively, posted a video clip of the victory on social media.
Change the
with
pace
a
off your own
that
racket.
perfectly captured
Get
the
a drop shot to fall in.
and anticipation building around this young player. The message was simple but powerful, written in all capital letters for emphasis. Next stop, the Australian Open. The footage and images from the victory showed Eala smiling genuinely, waving appreciatively to the crowd, and truly soaking in the positive atmosphere and supportive energy surrounding her. It was a complete 180-degree transformation from the heartbreak and devastation visible in Auckland. The contrast couldn't have been more stark or more encouraging. It's almost poetic when you think about the journey and what it represents. She apparently had to go through the darkness and despair of that alleged betrayal in Auckland to ultimately find the light, confidence, and renewed sense of purpose in Melbourne. Sometimes the most painful experiences become the catalyst for the greatest growth and transformation. Sometimes you need to be broken down completely before you can build yourself back up even stronger than before. Eala's stint in Melbourne at the Kooyong Classic represents a critical and absolutely essential component of her final preparations before the main event begins. The Australian Open is officially scheduled to run from January 18th through February 1st, meaning the clock is ticking down rapidly and the moment of truth is approaching fast. Eala is entering this Grand Slam tournament with absolutely massive momentum behind her after these impressive victories. She has 2 quality wins over a top 70 ranked player in her pocket, proving she can compete with and defeat opponents at that level consistently. She has accumulated valuable court time at Kooyong, getting her timing and rhythm dialed in perfectly. She has spent sufficient time acclimating to the often brutal Australian heat and the specific playing conditions she'll face at Melbourne Park. But perhaps more importantly than any of those tangible physical preparations, she now has the narrative and the storyline working in her favor. She is no longer just that promising junior player everyone talks about as a future star. She is no longer simply potential waiting to be realized. She has transformed herself into a battle-hardened warrior who has faced crushing defeat, allegedly experienced betrayal from her own supporters, and somehow found a way to come out on the other side swinging harder than ever before. She has proven her mental resilience in the most public way possible. The officials at Kooyong stated that this tournament environment is specifically designed to help players fine-tune their rhythm and timing against top-tier opposition in match conditions before the Grand Slam begins. Well, consider Alexandra Eala's rhythm officially fine-tuned to perfection. She isn't just playing the right notes anymore like a student working through a lesson. She is composing and performing an entire symphony of destruction out there on the tennis court like a master conductor. However, we need to be realistic and acknowledge that the main draw at Melbourne Park during the Australian Open is an entirely different beast compared to exhibition matches. The crowds will be significantly bigger and more intimidating. The pressure will be exponentially higher with ranking points and prize money and prestige all on the line. The opponents will be even better and more experienced. The question that lingers is whether the ghosts of Auckland might return to haunt her in pressure moments. Will she look up into the stands during crucial points of important matches and see genuine support and encouragement? Or will she find herself looking over her shoulder, wondering who might turn on her next if results don't go her way, unable to fully trust the support around her? I don't know about you and what your gut feeling tells you, but I'm personally betting on Alex Eala to come through this test. There is a fire burning in her eyes now that simply wasn't there before Auckland. That innocent, somewhat naive, nice girl image that she carried early in her career is completely gone, burned away by the pain of that experience. She has learned one of the hardest lessons any professional athlete has to learn. When you step on that court, you are ultimately alone regardless of how many people claim to support you. And if you are truly alone out there, then you had better make damn sure you are the strongest, toughest, most mentally resilient person in that arena. This is the compelling storyline to watch at the Australian Open, folks. Forget about the top-ranked players and the established favorites for just a moment. Keep your eyes locked on Alex Eala. Watch the young woman who cried publicly because critics said her country was too small, and watch her play like an absolute giant who refuses to be limited by anyone's expectations or definitions. Watch her prove that heart and determination and mental toughness matter more than rankings or reputation. We are genuinely witnessing the evolution and transformation of a superstar happening in real time right before our eyes. The tears have been wiped away and dried. The tennis racket in her hands is absolutely scorching hot with the quality of tennis she's producing. And the Australian Open had better be ready for the storm that is about to arrive because Alexandra Eala is coming with something to prove. She's hungry, she's motivated, and she's playing the best tennis of her entire life at exactly the right moment. What do you think about this entire situation? Was Eala's emotional reaction in Auckland justified given the circumstances, or was it perhaps an overreaction in the heat of a disappointing moment? Do you genuinely believe the fans really turned on her and betrayed her trust, or was it possibly just the intensity and confusion of the moment making things seem worse than they actually were? And looking ahead to the Australian Open, how far do you realistically think she can go in this tournament? Can she make it through to the second week, which would be a major accomplishment? Can she potentially shock the tennis world with an upset of a highly ranked opponent? Could we possibly see something even more special than anyone is currently predicting? I genuinely want to hear your thoughts, opinions, and predictions in the comments section below. Don't hold back or filter yourself. Let's get a real debate going in the comments about what we're witnessing with Alex Eala's development. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the drama, the heartbreak, and the triumphant comeback, if you appreciate the level of detail and storytelling we bring to these tennis narratives, and if you support Alex Eala and want to see her succeed at the highest levels of this sport, then smash that like button. Every like genuinely helps the channel grow and reach more tennis fans, which enables us to bring you more exclusive stories and in-depth analysis like this. And if you haven't already subscribed to Champions Tennisitics, hit that subscribe button right now and ring the notification bell so you don't miss a single video. You absolutely do not want to miss our comprehensive coverage of the Australian Open. We will be tracking Eala's every move throughout the tournament, analyzing every match point by point, and reporting on every controversy or dramatic moment that emerges. This is Champions Tennisitics, where we don't just passively watch tennis from a distance. We live it, breathe it, and bring you inside the stories that matter. Until next time, keep your eye on the ball and watch your back, because in tennis, just like in life, you never know when everything might change in an instant.
Like super happy because like it was a tough match. So yeah, there were really tough moments where she was playing well and like.
Kamusta mga kapong Pinoy? Surprise! Excited na akong imbitahin kayong lahat na manood sa mga laban ko sa Mubadala Abu Dhabi Open. Overachieving is a thing, as they say, dream big. I think that we had